Hi everyone, welcome to the second part of this planner page series from Johanna Basford's weekly planner, and the picture is from Ivy and the Inky Butterfly, and we're colouring with Pablo Pencils. Now, as I said in the first video, which if you haven't seen, you can go and look at after this one, Pablo Pencils might not be a set that everyone has, but there is a conversion chart on my Ko-fi shop, link is in the description, for the Pablos with Prismacolor, and you can hear me scribbling, I'm just writing myself a note to put it in the description, of Pablos and Prismas and Pablos and Polychromos, so if you don't have them you can find the closest matches, hopefully using that. Now we're going to start with the curtains today. I've been having a little think about the colour. I think it'd be quite nice if they sort of matched the door a little bit, but maybe not identically. So I was thinking I might use the royal blue, which is a sort of very purpley blue. It's rather nice, I think, and it might just tie this blue together with this purple a little bit. I may not just use the one colour though, but we'll come in a bit. There we go. So here he is, royal blue. Now we have all these folds and things, and what I'm thinking is that where this crease is, it might be darker in here. So I'm layering it up quite a lot there. And then thinking as I go towards the top of this bit, I will do less layers, reduce my touch to a little bit lighter. I think it might be dark just there from the shade of the, I want to say curtain rail, and it's actually a branch, which is very sweet, and a bit less as we go up. Now, reducing your touch like this and doing less layers and things takes a bit of practice. I'm sure you can do it, and hopefully you can see the difference between here and here. We're just going to repeat that with each of these. Now, it could be tempting to do this as a stripe on the curtain, which it could be, but it's slightly confusing that we have 3 all the way through and this last one has 4. So if I was trying to think of stripe colours, I would get a little bit confused by that, personally. I honestly think it's supposed to be like little folds in the curtain, but of course you can interpret it any way you wish, or just, you know, use your imagination and change it up slightly. It really doesn't matter. I'm thinking again here there'd be a bit of shadow from this bit of curtain, like that. It really is rather on the purpley side, this. I wouldn't call this royal blue myself. I would think royal blue was definitely didn't have purple in, but it doesn't matter, does it? It doesn't matter about the name. Some people get a little bit, they prefer the names to be completely accurate, but you know, it's a tricky thing, and some names are just like rose. I mean, roses come, and a rose is often a pink, but roses come in yellow, they come in white, you know, all sorts of shades of pink, purple, red, orange, you know, so calling something rose is not a very descriptive name, but you know, it's just interesting. And the fact that some colours, like a magenta in one set, can be completely different to a magenta in another set, that interests me, you know. Why? Although if you told me to find, if you gave me colours without names on, loads of them, or you were mixing from paint or something like that, and you told me to mix, say, a magenta, and you told my husband to mix a magenta and my son's, I bet we would all come up with a very different colour, you know. So maybe it is better to not have these sorts of vaguish names. Okay, I think that's okay. And we're going to do exactly the same with all of the other stripes, making them darker at the bottom and lighter towards the top. I think it just helps to emphasize the folds, and I think it would naturally be lighter at the top because light usually comes from the top, you know, whether that be sunlight or lamplight. Our lights are usually in our ceilings, not always, or high up anyway. Of course, some people do like using candlelight or low lamp light, but most people would be more likely to have higher lights. And actually these florals almost look like lights, but I won't colour them as lights. I'll just colour them as flowers. Sounds like my son has just finished. He was doing a live stream. He was trying to work out when he can do it around his new timetable. I think in his very first week he's not going to have any time at all, unless he does some evenings, but he might just be too tired because I think some evenings he won't be home till 6:30, and if he does an evening stream I think he starts at 6. So yeah, he may have to just do weekends and things, but you know, he's a sensible lad and he knows that his course is more important than his streaming, as much as he enjoys his streaming and would like to do more. You know, he's actually been talking about maybe doing some work as a voice artist, which is quite interesting. He quite likes the idea, but he's got to get around to sort of recording some voice samples and things. But he's got quite a good range in his voice, you know, low and high. He rather likes the low bass sort of voices, but he is quite high, so he's trying to teach himself, which is rather interesting. He just has a bit of fun using this sort of YouTube videos, actually shorts and things. Apparently there's someone called Bobby Bass that he follows that he finds interesting, and others. So yeah, I'm just tidying these up a bit. I'm actually going to go a bit darker on the bottom of these as well, although there isn't quite so much contrast. Okay, and then moving on to the last loopy one, and then we've got this one. This is all a bit samey, but it gives me an opportunity to natter to you, doesn't it? But yeah, so it's Tuesday and schools would have been back for a bit. Hopefully people are getting back into routine. I know in some countries schools have been back ages. In Scotland they go back in August, but in England they go back in September. It's really quite interesting. But they have the same amount of time in school, the holidays just aren't the same. University students get a lot longer. Like my boys were completely shocked that at Christmas and Easter they get 4 weeks, and they also get a week off at the end of February and a week off in May. So they were like, wow. And they don't properly start until the next week. But this week is Freshers' Week. That's actually quite a busy week. Now I'm trying to decide here, where do I put the darkest bit? I think on the right. I don't know why. It just feels from the way they're drawn that that's the way to do it. But I may be wrong. There's a lot of royal blue. I had thought about using more than one colour, but I actually think it's working quite well with just one. So that's good. It completely escaped me as well, my idea of using more than one colour once I got started. It's good, isn't it? Right, I'm just going to sort of make that look a little more shadowy. I think these just need to be darkened a bit. And then I'm going to make that do. For now, I just pop that away. Okay, now we've got this sort of, I'm thinking, you know, I thought a branch, the branch actually goes all the way around the whole page, so I'm going to leave that for a minute, just do the bunting first. Now, we've got a leaf design. I think what I'd like to do with the bunting is to match it in with the door and curtain, but make it different, if that makes sense. So not exactly the same colours. So we've got pinks and purples, but what haven't we used? Let's have a look. We've used those. Oh, we haven't used those. And we haven't used the mauve. So let's have a go with the mauve to start with. I'm going to need to sharpen it because I'm going to use it for the cord on the bunting. So we need quite a sharp point. There we go. So the mauve is actually, the colour of the pencil makes it look a lot darker than it is. It's actually quite pinkish. And I think it will sort of contrast quite well with our curtains. I'm just checking the time, not because I'm in a rush here, but because, well, I am. I need to go and do something, but I can always just pause this and come back to it. I need to make myself a little bit of food and pop it in the oven. Right, there's the mauve. Now I'm wondering whether to do the triangles the same, but I think I can use a slightly different colour. I'm going to use the lilac, but let's use the darker colour. So let's pop that one away. Let's use the purple violet. It's this sort of almost reddish looking barrel, but it is a purpley colour. And we'll do the leaves in a green. Just going to try and make it a little bit darker underneath the cord. There might be a bit of shadow there, but it's actually not really showing up. I like how they're sort of drawn as if they're a bit raggedy, which is rather sweet. And I like the fact they've got a leaf pattern on them. Leaf bunting, that'd be nice, wouldn't it? I do like bunting. I have a little bit that I put up at Christmas that my mum ran up on her sewing machine. So pretty. And she's got all sorts of different Christmassy fabrics for each triangle. It's not ragged like this, I look after it. And it has got letters sewn on it, felt letters, which say Merry Christmas. Rather nice. It's not really, it's a bit early to be thinking and talking about Christmas though, isn't it? Now, for our green, I want a bluish green. The greenish blue is really rather too blue. Although our ivy is quite blue. I think I'll use the opaline. The opaline green. It is still quite bluish. I think it will work. We'll find out, won't we? Okay, so the opaline green. I think it works quite well. Some of these leaves are upside down, some of them aren't. There we go. I rather like that. Wouldn't mind that in my house. Okay. Where are we now? Let's have a think. I'm quite fancying doing this whole branch and leaves. So let's come out fully because the branch stretches the whole page. Oops. Now I want a colour that isn't too warm. We've got a lot of cold colours going on. So I'm having a look at my browns. Now I don't want to use any of these greyish browns, the brick colour. I could go for a cocoa or a bistre, a sepia or an umber. I think if I use the cocoa. It isn't too dark, and then I'll have some leeway to be able to darken up a few bits if I feel it needs it, like perhaps down here. So I'm just going to do the whole of this branch in this colour. I'm going to layer it up a fair bit because I want you to be able to see it. It is a fairly dark colour, but it does look brown rather than grey, which is what I wanted, because the some of the greys are quite brownish, or brown's quite greyish, whichever way you want to look at it. But I did want it to look brown, but not warm, and I think this has just worked nicely. It's interesting because I'm looking at the name in French and it says beige fonds, whereas the English name is cocoa. I wonder if it's beige cocoa. What does fonds mean, I wonder? Someone will know. I could look it up. People get very used to looking things up though, don't we? Have a device, you can just look it up. You have to use your memory or your logical thought to try and guess. You can just look it up. I think I'm going to do all the tendrils in this colour. You may prefer to do them in the green that you do the leaves, but I just think it's a little bit different. I usually do them green, so I'm going to do them brown. I mean, I don't know what that French means, and I'll never know for sure until I look it up. But quite often it's like, oh, what's the name of that bloke that was in that film? The film about the blah. I can't remember what it was called or what he was called. You might have that going on in the conversation. I think a lot of people often do. And it's very tempting to just get onto IMDb and look it up. Although if you don't know the name of the film or the actor, you might be a little bit of trouble. But anyway, now although I've done my tendrils in this brown, I don't think I want to do these in it. So I'm going to just sort of fade that down there, and I will find a green for that one, I think. Because it's a flower, I want it to look a bit prettier rather than just having a bit of brown. And it is interesting because I was talking to a friend who said her mother was always telling her off for having her phone at the table, and she said when they were growing up they would often have books near the table, and if they were talking and wanted to look something up they would look it up in a book. But now she just uses her phone and she doesn't really see the difference. It's a really tricky one, that, isn't it? Because somehow a phone, I think partly because I suppose books can be as well, but distracting. So you pick up your phone and you might be looking something up, but then you've got a notification that you've got a message from someone, or you've got a new news story to read, or someone's posted on Instagram, or one of your favourite YouTubers has got a video out, that sort of thing, and then you're instantly thinking about something else and distracted. You may not even remember to look up the thing you were looking up because you've gone off to your notifications. And they can switch your notifications off. I don't really want to recommend this because I want you remembering to watch my video. But if you want a break from social media, that's probably the easiest way to make sure that you don't break your offline time sort of thing. I'm not sure what to call it, and I find it extremely hard, I have to say. I find it, if I'm out of the house, so visiting relatives or even visiting a place, that sort of thing, then not being on social media or on my phone is dead easy, because there's lots and lots and lots of other things going on. But if I'm at home, it's much harder. Right, I have got a darker brown colour. This is the umber, which is the darkest brown, I think. And I'm going to use it, I want to use it a little bit under here. I'm just going to use it along the bottom and then fade it up just to make it look a bit more interesting, because this is almost like the ground down here. I know it starts off as a branch, but it doesn't feel very branch-like down here. So I thought I would just give it a bit of interest, shall we say. Oh, I'm going to have to finish in 10 minutes. I don't know whether to pause and go off or stop and do it. It depends how far I've got, really. Now here, I want to start doing a much thinner line, because now we are a branch, putting a bit of a dark outline can help to make it look a little bit more three-dimensional. So we can just follow that round. I think once we get up there we're a bit too far. So I'm going to start it here where we've got this break with this leaf, and start putting a darker bit each side. Just where there's that, just leave it. And then a little bit under there and up here. Yeah, I don't know if you can really see that detail, but I'm happy with it. Now let's pop that one away. Okay, now I'm just thinking about the leaf colours. I want to keep to something quite bluey green. The greyish green is quite a good choice. I want to avoid the olives because they're far too yellow. So I'm going to grab the greyish green. I'm trying to find it. Here it is. It's definitely sort of bluish green, I think, even though it's called greyish. And I'm going to start with these. And with this one, with this design of leaf, what I often do is just make it dark at the bottom, fade it up to the middle, and then start again at the top, just trying to hold it still with my fingers. Should we come in a bit closer so you can see what I'm doing? There we go. So darker at the top and then less layers as we go down, and then somewhere in the middle you meet up. Don't want to leave any white because it isn't shiny as such, but it just gives it a bit of, you know, like the leaf's a bit shiny but not metallic. I can do the same with this one. So sort of fade it there. I didn't fade it as well, but it's okay. Just fade it down to there. Oh, excuse me sniffing. I have a bit of a habit, don't I? Sniffing habit. It's not very pleasant. Sorry. Right, and there's that one. And we'll do the same. There's another bunch here. We'll do the same. They're smaller, so you have to fade more quickly. It's quite quick and it's fun and effective all at the same time. And this one, we've just got one more, I think. I'm just checking. There's me looking up at the page. I need to concentrate on what I'm doing, not move my eyes around the page. End up going Right, there we go. So there are those two little bunches. Bunches? Not really, but there we go. Now, we've got these three next, I'm thinking. I'm going to go darker. So there's a contrast between these two. Let's have a look. I'm thinking the dark green will work. Now, let's put it down there so you can see it now. These have got this sort of stripy bit and a plain bit I'm not really sure what to do with these. I think I'm going to just make it quite dark here and then just make it lighter towards the tip on this one. You can't see the full tip of the leaf, but I do my best. Like that. Now I've gone over the edge here with the brown. I should really erase it, but I haven't. So only light on the tip there. Now, I haven't decided about the flowers, so I'm not going to colour those yet. I want to get the leaves done first and just see whether it needs a pop of light colour or dark colour. You know, I'm not really sure yet. So I just want to get the leaves done first. Next we have these rather large leaves, don't we? And I'm thinking maybe something lighter for these. We've got the jade green, but it's really very bluey. So I think I'm going to go for the peacock green, which is slightly darker. I'm just trying to find it. Here it is. Peacock green. Now, we've got an outline. I think I'm going to use the outline and do it dark and then do something lighter inside the gap. If that makes sense. It's quite nice because they're drawn in different ways. You can colour them in different ways. Use your imagination, or just do them all the same. You know, you can colour them all with the same colour green, but using different shading techniques, or you can mix it up like I am. I just do this one as well. So I'm just really layering up this edge. And then I'm going to do this quite lightly inside and fade it towards the top. Using the edge of the pencil gets you a lighter covering of colour. Oops, doing less layers makes it lighter. Like that. There we go. Now I'm just seeing if there are any more like this, but there aren't. I'm just looking at the time. I'm going to pause now. I think I won't end the video. I'll be back to do a bit more. I'm just trying to work out how long it's going to take me, but it doesn't matter. I'm just going to pause here and come back in a bit. Right, I am back after 5 minutes of chopping veg and we're going to have a look at this. Now we've actually got these leaves here, but they look like ivy, and we've got ivy up here and these leaves. But I think what I'm going to do is make these slightly larger ones slightly different to this, just to give us a little bit of difference in what we're colouring. I have noticed that we've got some tendrils here that we haven't coloured in, so I'm just going to do those with the what did we use? The cocoa, that's right. So I'm just going to use the cocoa for those, and then decide on my green colour. Yeah, my boys are cooking tonight, and they're making a chicken stew. So I just wanted to make a tray bake of veg and throw it in the oven, so I'm out of their way. But I was having some of the same veg as them, so I chopped some up for them as well. So although they can manage it, I thought it would just be helpful. Oops. Right, that's that bit done. Now we're going to have a look for a green. I'm thinking maybe the emerald green. Let me look. Yeah, let's do the emerald green for these. Now what should we do with these? Again, we've got an outline bit that we could define. Maybe if I do the outline bit light and make the bit inside darker. So it's a bit different to the other ones that we've done. So I'm doing quite a light layer around here, and I'll do the same on this one. Yeah, looking forward to it. Nice tray bake. Tray bake of veg. So there was potato, sweet potato, parsnip, asparagus, some courgette and chickpeas. I think that was about it. So that is a fairly light layer, and then inside the spaces I'm going to do it quite hard. Well, more layers. And then fade towards the tip a little bit, but still make it darker than the outside. Never coloured a leaf like this before. Just doing something a little bit different. Why not? My hands smell of onion now though. I hope my book is going to smell like onion, because my boys are having onion. I can't eat onions in their stew. Of course, it makes a delicious flavour. So I said, should I just chop this for you quickly? Because they were busy. One of them was chopping up the chicken and being really careful with making sure he didn't get chicken juices everywhere. You know, using a separate board and knife and washing his hands really well and soap and all that sort of thing. And the other one was chopping up some garlic as well. They're going to have garlic in it too. And they've got chicken stock and garlic to use up. So they decided they'd make a chicken stew. Because I can't eat either of those. Well, I don't like meat, and I can't eat garlic. So, and nor can my husband actually. Now I'm interested to see this one has got an outline. Is it part of this bunch? I think I'm going to do it as part of this bunch. So a light edge. And then a darker middle. Like that. And leave those, but up here we have these which have outlines too, so I'm going to do those, keep with my emerald and do these in the same way. Partly because they look quite similar, but also because, although they look more similar to a different type, it doesn't matter. Also because I'm going to run out of different greens to use, so I might as well sort of match some up. So that's another reason. Put a bit darker in there. Can hear my son singing. One of my boys likes singing. The other one doesn't. Well, I like singing and my husband doesn't sing, so I guess it isn't surprising. There we go. See, that one has got the outline. Yeah, I do that one like them. I don't know if it'll look a bit odd, but we'll find out. Yeah, I'm beginning to feel hungry already, but my food's got to be in the oven for over half an hour. So, but I guess because I can smell it. Right, stop talking about food. Okay. Now we've got our other ivy to do, all these, and these. Now we could do them the colour of this, but I think I'm going to leave that because I didn't know if it was supposed to be a painting on the door, but I put shadow under it now, so it wouldn't really be. But anyway, I'm not going to do it the same as that. I've got I could use the grass green, no, the Veronese green. Yes, that's a little bit different. Let's use that. I think that's how you say it, Veronese green. And let's start with sharpening while I procrastinate and try and decide what to do. Should we go from dark tip to light base? Because I barely do it that way around. You won't see it much in these little ones because they are small. So more layers here and then less towards the bottom. It's not a very realistic way to colour a leaf, but you know. I hardly ever try and go for realism. I think it depends what you're colouring, but these pictures aren't drawn to look real, so why would you? Now I'm just noticing that the branch above our curtain has got some little leaves on. I'll show you, and I'm going to just do these with this as well, because they look the same as the little leaves. I mean, they may not be supposed to be, but I think this goes nicely with the purple. And then we can do the ivy ones in a bit. There we go. I'm going to come down more so I don't forget and finish off really. We've got a little bit of greenery on these hanging down flowers, so I've got to have a think about that. I might do a lighter pink for some other flowers, I'm thinking. That's my thought at the moment. I may completely change my mind once all the green is done, so we'll find out. It's hard to tell. Now, background wise on this one, I wasn't planning a background at all. I guess we're outside, so maybe a blue for the sky might work, but then we've got a curtain which would be inside, so it's a little bit confusing as to where we are. But maybe it doesn't matter if there's a bit of blue even if we're inside. Oh, there's a car, it's going so fast, it sounds like there's a racing track outside. There really isn't. Goodness me. I suppose it might be a problem with the car, or some people have their cars done so that they make an extra loud noise, they want them to. It's really strange, I just don't get it, but yeah. I'm not a car person, so maybe that's why. Okay, so let's do these flowers. I'm going to come right out so that you can see the whole thing and think with me about colours. So we're going to do the greenery on the flowers first. I'm just going to pop this one pencil away, and I think I am going to use the bluish green or the empire green. I think the bluish green is probably the best one, and I'm just going to sharpen it actually, because some of these leaves are really small. I'm going to do the leaves on these flowers and these flowers in the same colour because they're both flowers. To tie them together, I haven't got many colours left to choose from, and yeah, that's all the excuses. And I'm lazy? I don't think so. There we go. And then this stem, I'm going to start at the top and just try and sort of blend it into that brown a little bit. And bring it down. And these, I'm just going to block it in really. It's quite small, these leaves. And this bit, I'm going to try and fade a bit towards the middle, but I don't know if it will. And then we have these leaves here. Make those a little bit lighter than the stem. Like that. Oh yeah, I just remembered we're having a little roll with our tea tonight. It's like, what are you going to do with your stew? You know, what sort of carbs, whole grains are you going to have? Because I used to sometimes make a stew and put it on top of a bed of couscous, you know. The boys didn't really know, so I said, how about a roll? Just a whole grain roll. And they were like, oh yeah, that'd be nice. So that's what I've bought. And now pinks. I'm looking at my swatch chart, try and make sure we can get a pink that works with this colour scheme. Some pinks are quite orangey, which I don't think is going to work. Obviously Ivy has got a slightly more orangey colour on her skin tone, but I don't really want to put any more orangey colours in. So I'm going to grab the pink. It's just called Pink. Here it is. And I'm going to use that for these little bells. I think I do them darker at the top, a bit lighter towards the bottom. It's quite hard to do that with such a small flower, so if you just want to block it in and not worry, that's absolutely fine. And then last of all, these ones at the top, I think I might go for the light purple. Just looking at what that looks like. I'm trying to find it on my swatch. Yes, that'll do nicely. Not sure if we've used this before, light purple on the door, but oops, I think it might be the background to the door actually. But because I'm putting it on a lot more thickly, it won't really look the same anyway. But I'm doing the same with this one as the other. I'm making it a little bit darker at the top than the bottom. And just working the same through each of them. Nice and straightforward. I'm just thinking while I'm doing this about what next video I'm going to do for you, but I have an idea, which is always very useful, so that's good. Right, I think I am done with that one. I have very much enjoyed colouring that page. As I say, I'm not going to do a background. I would recommend, if you were going to do one, probably a blue, but Ivy's dress is blue, so she might get a bit lost into the background. So if you are doing a background and you haven't started colouring the page yet, and you are going to do it blue, do Ivy's dress a different colour, or do Ivy's dress a really dark blue and do your background in a very light blue. You could use, if you're doing if you're using your Caran d'Ache Pablos, I would use the bluish pale for the background. It's a really light colour, or the sky blue, and they're quite different to this blue anyway, so they might just work. And I would probably be tempted to make it darker around the edge and then fade it in towards the middle a bit. But it's a bit odd because down here we wouldn't really have sky, because this is the ground, so you might want to colour that in, maybe in a green, and then the sky round. But as I say, I'm not going to do a background. I'm going to leave it like that. I like it like that, and that sits nicely with me. So there we go. So thank you for watching. Yeah, I hope you have a nice Tuesday. Have a super day, and tune in tomorrow to find out what I've decided to do. I've got no idea. But thank you so much. Please like, subscribe, comment, all those things that you're so good at, and I appreciate. Thank you. Have a good day and happy colouring.